Let me ask you. What are the names of the four brothers with Ramchandra, one of the four brothers? Yeah. Ram. Very good. Very good. Okay. So, there's a nice illustration of Lord Ramachandra. And there's going to be 7 parts to this. And the first of the 7 parts is Dvidvida's offense to Lakshmana. Dvidvida. We're going to learn a whole bunch of things about Dvidvida that you probably didn't know. And, of course, this is a very nice painting. This is the coronation painting. Coronation because there's Hanuman and some of the Vanaras, because before they came back from Ayodhya, from Lanka, the Vanaras weren't with Ram like this. But the 3 brothers, now one that has a nice crown, we'll take it that was perhaps Bharata, because he was taking the role of ruling in ruling in Ayodhya on behalf of Lord Ramachandra while he was in the forest. And Lakshman, because he has a matted locks on his head, and Bharata, Shatrughna, because he's there with the chamra. And Shatrughna liked very much being in service to the Vaishnavas. So, who is Dvidvida? So we're going to learn a lot about Dvidvida. Dvidvida is mentioned in Krishna's pastimes. So let's do this. How long was it? I used to think, wrongly, that Ramchandra appeared in, just let me take my sweater off, it's pretty warm in here. Ramchandra appeared in which yuga? Treta Yuga? And then Krishna appeared in Dwapara Yuga. So I was wrongly under the impression that go ahead, the yuga, in the same yuga cycle, Ramchandra appeared, then Krishna appeared. Not so. Not so. Krishna appeared in the which cycle of Vivasvata Manu? Which one? 28th. 28th. You with me? During Vivasvata Manu's reign, Krishna appeared during the 28th Yuga cycle of Vivasvata Manu. Yes? Yes. And during the 24th Yuga cycle of Vivasvata Manu, Ramchandra appeared. So that's a lot of time between when Ramchandra appeared and when Krishna appeared. And Dvidvida was present in both, which means that Dvidvida was in the category of what's known as Chiranjiva, or he lived a long time. And not only Dvidvida, but also his brother Minda, because they were twins. So, as it says on the text, both Dvidvida and Minda, they were sons of the Ashvini Kumaras, and their role during Ramayana was they were ministers to Sugriva. When Kabanda was told Ram and Lakshman which way Sita was taken, and that they could get assistance from finding Sugriva, who was with 4 ministers up on Kishkinda, a mountain in that area. So the 4 ministers, 2 of them were Minda and Dvidvida. Another was Hanuman, And who was the other one? Jambavan. The four ministers giving guidance and in giving comfort to Sugriva because he was going to become their king. So they, during Ram's Leela, Minda and Vita were ministers to Sugriva, and then they became associates of Chaitanya, of Lord Ramachandra. So this painting, nice painting, they're coming across the bridge, and behind him, these two giant guys, there's Minda and Dvidvita, along with many other Vanaras. But they're very heroic. They're in the Yuddha Kanda section of Ramayana, there are many places where Minda's power is described, fighting during the battle. So how did it come to be that Ashwini Kumaras became the father of Dvidvita and Minda? It goes back to the scene during the early parts of Ramayana where the demigods, they approached Vishnu and offered prayers, pleading with Vishnu to help because Ravana was a global terrorist and disturbing everyone, including the demigods. Ravana was very powerful. And so, similar to what happened during Krishna's Leela, the Lord Vishnu responded in such a way that Brahma could hear. Brahma was supposed to relay a message to the demigods, and the message was this one. Vishnu will appear. He has said yes, and he wants you to appear in your expansion forms and assist him in his pastimes, or more specifically, to participate in the Leela of the personality of Godhead. I mean, on the one hand, to assist him. On the other hand, to give them the opportunity to associate with him personally. Both. And the instruction specifically was create offspring, not in the human species because there was some benediction that Ravana had that he can't be killed this way, that way. So in the Vanara species, they were to create beings by their offspring, begetting offspring, that were equal to them in power, and specifically to assist in the conquest of Ravana. So they did. For example, who was the father of Sugriva? Suryadev. And who is the father of Vali? Indra, right? Indra. And who is the father of Hanuman? Vayu. So the Ashwini Kumaras became the father of Dvidvita and Minda. So who are the Ashwini Kumaras? They're sons of Vivaswan, and amongst the demigods, they're not exactly demigods, they're royal physicians. So they're not exactly demigods, they're not exactly not demigods, but they have a very special status. And sometimes the demigods get a little nitpicky with them. You're not a demigod. But that's their status. And they became the fathers of Dvidvita and Minda. And very similar to the Mahabharata, they were the fathers of Nakul and Sahadev. They were the fathers of Nakul and Sahadev. So Nakul and Sahadev have a very close relationship with Dvidvita and Minda, but both Dvidvita and Minda became corrupted. And neither Nakul and Sahadev became corrupted. The first place that there's a significant mention of these two, Dvidvita and Minda, is when the Vanaras are at the southern sea, the shore of the southern sea, and they're determining after Sampati confirmed that Sita is in Lanka 800 yojanas away, or 100 miles, because 1 mile equals 8 yojanas. So they're, Angada was asking who can jump and come back, because they wanted to confirm and that Sita was there and safe, and that Sita would then know Ram is coming soon, because it was very distressful for her, so it was to reassure her. That was the mission. And so after Angada, who was Bali's son and in the next in line as the king, he was asking who can do this, jumping. You all have powers that are supernatural powers, sons of demigods. And so different persons saying how far they could jump. Gaja said he could jump 80 miles. Gavaksha, 160, that's double. And Minda said he could jump 480 miles. That's a big jump. He wins the contest for broad jumping. And then the powerful Dvidvida declared, I can undoubtedly jump 560 miles. It's not long enough. What to speak of come back? Because Angada said, I can get there, but I can't come back. That's not good. So he's mentioned as being very powerful. Now, something that happened, he has mentioned a little bit earlier, and that's when the scene here is where Ram and Lakshman are being introduced to Sugriva. There you see Hanuman next to Ram and Lakshman, and then there's the other 3 ministers behind Dvidvida, behind Sugriva. And there's a detail, this is what's going to come from Sridhar Swami's commentary, but Sridhar Swami's commentary says that when the introduction was being made by Hanuman between Ram and Sugriva, the minister Dvidvida offended Lakshman. How did he offend Lakshman? You pay attention to Ram, the other fellow that's with him isn't the one to pay attention to. Pay attention to Ram. So, minimizing the position of Lakshman. It's called sadhuninda. It's not specifically necessarily speaking some harsh, nasty thing. It's it's neglecting or disrespecting or not respecting when it should be. So the position of Lakshmana, there's a whole class that's going to be on how Lakshmana is the representative of Guru Tattva. As Balaram, we know from Chaitanya Charitamrita, is the Adi Guru, the original principle of Guru. And Lakshman is non-different. And so to disrespect Guru is what Dvidvida did. And that's problematic. If you make an offense to a Vaishnav, then you become susceptible to future consequences like bad association, unfavorable association. One becomes spiritually weakened, and this is what happened to Dvidvida. And then anarthas rise like anything. First the offense, and then unfavorable association, and uncontrolled anarthas make for further offenses. It's called the vicious cycle. So there's a way to get free from that vicious cycle, but beware. Don't make offense to begin. Don't mess with Lakshman. So we'll hear this several times in the course of this evening, but Dvidvida was way up there. He was a personal minister to Sugriva, who had a very deep and profound friendship and loving, because they had this formal friendship. But it was, the rasa was also rasa of friendship. Ram towards Sugriva, Sugriva towards Ram, mutual. He was his minister. And he became corrupted. What's the phrase? The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Something like that. In Ram's Leela, they, according to Jiva Goswami, they are eternal residents in Ayodhya of the spiritual world, or the Vaikuntha realm. So let's do this. You know the verse from Brahma Samhita that says, Devi Dham, Mahesh Dham, Haridam, Golokadam. You know the verse? Golokanamni nijadamni talecha tasya Devi Maheshu Haridam Suteshu Teshu. So, in this, in all the Vaikuntha planets, or the realm of Haridam, there's one planet that's the topmost of all those planets. Of all the Vaikuntha planets, the topmost of all the Vaikuntha planets is Ayodhya Dham, the eternal abode of Lord Ramachandra. In the Vaikuntha realm, the spiritual Ayodhya Dham, Dvidvida and Minda are eternal residents there. Interesting, huh? In Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami writes, you'll see this word a few times. I put it in red. Avarana means covered. Avarana. The covered or avarana deities, like Minda and Dvidvida, in worship of Ram are Nitya Siddhas, dwelling in the Lord's eternal abode. There are others, however, jivas, who are endowed with some of the Shakti of eternal associates like Minda and Dvidvida, and are called by the same name. To help Ram or other avatars when they appear on earth. Though Ram and others reside eternally in their spiritual abodes as well. So when Ram appears, with him comes his associates. The king is coming, the king is coming. He's not walking alone. He's coming with his associates. So in this case, it's the Shakti or the Angsa of the eternal associate Dudit and Minda were invested in some jiva or pravishta, entered into one jiva. And these jivas became corrupted. How? Minda associated with Vali, who hated the devotee Sugriva. Later, Dvidvida associated with Narakasura, who hated the Lord. Narakasura hated the Lord because Narakasura had some bad association. One of those bad associations was Shalva, and when Krishna killed Shalva, Narakasura wanted to get back. This occurs because the Lord's appearance with his devotees is mixed with elements of the material world. This is just quoting Bhanu Swami's translation of Bhakti Sandarbha. Or jivas who are invested with Nitya Siddha's powers, kind of like Shaktivesh, but not the powers of the Supreme Lord, empowered with the powers of the associates of the Supreme Lord. That's the Dvidvida and Minda of Ram's Leela, carrying the same names as the eternal associates in the spiritual realm. Interesting, huh? You can remember all this? No. You're honest. That's good. But you're attentive. I can hear the wheels turning. Here's from Laghu Bhagavatamrita. What's Laghu Bhagavatamrita? Laghu Bhagavatamrita is a book written by Rupa Goswami. And the essence of what Laghu Bhagavatamrita is it's a description of the avatar forms of the Lord as they appear in this world. That's what the book is. And there's different sections with different references, but that's the subject matter. Laghu Bhagavatamrita. So 1.5.85. Krishna is Swayam Rupa. Swayam Rupa, the original form. The original form. So Krishna is to Bhagavan Swayam. Same idea. Krishna is Swayam Rupa. It is stated in the Swayambhuva Agama, in the chapter describing the 14-syllable mantra, that Ram and Nrsimha are worshipped as the Avarana deities of Krishna. So this is just to share a little bit, what's this term Avarana mean? Because Minda and Dvidvita, in Ayodhya, in the spiritual realm, they're Avarana deities. So Rama and Nrsimha are identified as Avarana deities of Krishna. They're expansions. Krishna is Swayam Rupa, and they're Avarana expansions or deities of Krishna. In Krishna Sandarbha, again back to Jiva Goswami, in other places the term Avarana deities indicates the Lord's surrounding deities. And give some example. This is Jiva Goswami again, his commentary on Canto 10, Chapter 1, the appearance of Krishna. The Chaturvyuha forms act as Avarana deities to Krishna or Govinda in Goloka, in the spiritual sky. This is just to get an idea of what, at least to me, Avarana is a new term. So what does it mean? How is it applied in other circumstances? That's why this slide is there. So as the Chaturvyuha are unto Krishna, so Dvidvita and Minda are unto Ram. They're not Vishnu Tattva, but they're Avarana, they're surrounding deities. Surrounding deities, the Lord's surrounding deities. So there's a very elevated position. Here's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Partial expansions of both Dvidvita and Minda participate in Lord Ram's earthly Leela, with the Lord's explicit purpose of teaching the consequence of offense. Offense has serious consequences. Offense to Guru, offense to Vaishnava, or offense to Sadhu has very serious consequences. And that's exactly what Dvidvita did in relation to Lakshmana. I mentioned, here it is mentioned again, during the battle, the Yuddha Kanda section, Dvidvita's heroism and power and strength are mentioned again and again. There were battles between Ravana and one of his great generals, Meghanath. They couldn't kill Dvidvita because he's so very, very, very powerful. However, that same Dvidvita, much later in time, was slayed by Lord Balaram. And there, in between, there was some offense. So here's Jiva Goswami's commentary on Chapter 67 of Canto 10 is Balaram slays Dvidvida. So very early, second text of that chapter, Jiva Goswami writes, though Dvidvida associated with Sugriva, the cause of his present foolishness was his friendship with Naraka. He became corrupted by bad association. As a result, he became extremely evil-minded. The cause of this bad association was his pride in his strength, by which he did not respect Lakshmana. We're going to hear more about. I was really curious to find out where's the scriptural reference that says, what did he do to disrespect Lakshman? So, be a little patient, we'll get there. There were two things that were specifically done. Minda and Dvidvida are two forms worshipped as Avarana deities when worshipping Ram. They are situated in Vaikuntha. The Minda and Dvidvida mentioned in this verse are persons endowed with their Shakti. Is the picture clear? We'll pause it for a moment and see if there's, like, who's who, what's what. The picture is clear. So a little bit to understand the context. There you see Lord Shiva dancing on Mount Kailash. And there you see one of the 1,000 armed devotee who was playing drums too much for the pleasure of Lord Shiva. This is described in chapter 62 in the meeting of Usha and Aniruddha. So Bana was the oldest of the 100 sons fathered by the great saint Bali Maharaj, who gave the whole earth in charity to the Lord Hari when he appeared as Vamanadev. Bana, the eldest of 100 sons, born of Bali's semen, became a great devotee of Lord Shiva. So he became such a great devotee, he gave him this benediction of 1,000 arms. He was proud. He was corrupt from the outset. This is the key. Bana associated with Naraka. Naraka corrupted Dvidvida. Bad association is a problem. Especially if you've offended Lakshman. That's a big problem. So there's a little chronology. The chronology goes like this. Banasura, the eldest son of Bali Maharaj, had demoniac tendency from birth. He was already corrupt. Banasura associated with Narakasura. Although chronologically in the Bhagavatam, it comes before, chapter 59 comes before 62. But in case you didn't notice already, I'll say it twice. The Bhagavatam is very logical, but not chronological. I'll say it the other way. Bhagavatam is not chronological, but it's very logical. So in chapter 59, Naraka became corrupted by association with Banasura. It's mentioned, chapter 59. In chapter 62, Banasura was already corrupt from his birth. He was a very evil, bad-minded person. And Narakasura, in chapter 67, it mentioned he became corrupted by the association of Narakasura. And that he became susceptible to bad association due to his offense to Lakshmana. I hope you're getting the picture. Don't offend Lakshmana. Because when you make an offense to sadhu ninda, you become susceptible to bad association. You may not have bad association, but you become weakened enough that when there is bad association, you can fall prey to bad association. And Dravida became not just, corrupted, he became very evil. From a minister to Sugriva and a close associate of Ram. He became corrupted. We'll hear some more. So who's Narakasura? Narakasura was the son of Mother Earth, Bhumi. When Varaha lifted Mother Earth, Varaha contacted Mother Earth, and a son was born. Bhumi, or Naraka, but he became an asura through bad association. So Bhumi or Bhoma was the sun. There's Varaha lifting the earth. It is said in the Bhagavatam, Canto 3, it is said in other Puranas that Narakasura was the son of Daudatri by the Lord himself. So Lord Varaha and Daudatri, or Mother Earth, the son was born. So how did he become corrupted? How did he become a demon? Naraka became Narakasura. Narakasura became a demon to bad association of Bana, another demon. Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 3. Birth is not always the criterion of goodness unless and until one is trained in the culture of good association, one cannot become good. So Bana had the audacity to Bana found Aniruddha in his daughter's chambers, and he flipped, put him in jail. And then word went to Dwaraka, Bana has placed Aniruddha in jail. Now, Aniruddha is one of the Chaturvyuha persons. You with me? Krishna is Vasudev, Balaram is Sankarshan, Pradumna is Pradumna, and Pradumna's son was Aniruddha. Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradumna, and Aniruddha. And he was put in jail. Now, how can you put a Vishnu Tattva form in jail? It's a pastime. I mean, it was a big battle, and they arrested him and put him in jail. So Ugrasena said, I'm taking the entire Yadu army, and we're going to blast this Banasura and his whole kingdom to smithereens. And so, sure enough, there's the painting, very nice BBT painting. You see Ganesh down there in the lower right. Balaram is smashing. And they fired a yawn weapon because they didn't want to harm Lord Shiva. So there you see him yawning. And directly, Krishna is battling it out with the 1,000 armed Banasura. So Krishna, with his arrows, cut off all but 4 of his arms. So 1,000 minus 4, that's how many arms were chopped. And then Lord Shiva came and pleaded on his behalf. Said, please spare him. And Krishna said, yes, I spared him on purpose, and he'll become a faithful servant of yours. So Bana's pride and offense against Krishna was checked. So this is chapter 67 of Canto 10. And here's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on the second verse. Narakasura is described as being the friend, Narakasya Sakha, of Dvidvita. This is the chapter where Balaram smashes him. It's the Balaram kills Dvidvita gorilla, chapter 67. To show that although Dvidvita was the minister of the great devotee Sugriva and an associate of Lord Ramachandra, he became corrupted by the bad association of Naraka, and this caused anarthas to arise in him. The bad association, big letters, the bad association was, once again, the reaction for an offense Dvidvita had committed when he disrespected Lakshmana, due to being proud of his strength. So when I read all of this, I was puzzled. I consulted this authority, that authority, this Sanskrit scholar, that Sanskrit scholar, to find out what was that offense. I got a lot of silence back because it wasn't easy to find. Here is one explanation. There we see Lakshmana having been hit by the Shakti Shela weapon, or serpent arrows of Indrajit first, and he is unconscious. And there's Ram by his side, and the big difficulty. Sushena, the Ayurvedic physician, said, I need certain herbs and I can cure him. And they looked at Hanuman, this mountain is way up there in the northern part of India. So off he went, zoom, zoom, to get the mountain. Some references say the Gandhamanana mountain. This reference says the Mahodaya mountain, whichever it was. Lakshman became unconscious after being pierced by the serpent arrows of Indrajit, writhing on the ground and then becoming unconscious. To revive him, Hanuman brought back the entire Mahodaya mountain with all its herbs. Now, seeing all of this, Dvidvita was snickering or ridiculing. He's a weakling. He got hit with some weapon. So what? Get up and be a hero. Because, he's very proud of his strength and ridiculing inappropriately Lakshmana, saying, you're a weakling. He didn't say it. This is another detail. It was a mental offense. Just like Brigu wanted to test, the story? Brigu was sent by a group of sages to determine who is the greatest, Brahma, Shiva, or Vishnu. So there's the mental offense, there's the verbal offense, and there's corporeal offense. Different ways you can make offense. So this was just a mental offense, but it had a big reaction. Dvidvita desired Ram's favor so ardently that he envied the exceptional affection displayed towards Lakshmana. In this way, Dvidvita was competing against the guru-like representative of Ram. So circling back again to the Adi Guru is Balaram, or in Ram's Leelas, Lakshman. And he was competing against or envious towards Guru. That's a problem. So one is his strength, and the other is his competitive tendency, and thus envying Lakshman. There's two strikes, and he's going to be out shortly, you'll see. Same verse, same chapter, different commentary. Vangsidhar's commentary gives the Sanskrit translation. One night, while the war with Ravana was going on, Dvidvita went inside Lanka and forcibly attacked some Rakshasis and disrobed them, and went so far as to touch their genitals. Knowing this, Ram exiled them from the army. When Dvivida prayed for forgiveness, Lord Ram said that your liberation cannot happen as a devotee. You'll have to wait until Dwapara Yuga, and a few yuga cycles later also. And only then can you get liberated when you're killed by the next incarnation. Who's the next incarnation? Balaram. Now, this is my note. This isn't his commentary. While the exact offense against Lakshmana is not mentioned by this Acharya, what is indicated is that his behavior was unrestrained and overtly prideful, due to which he not only broke the sanctity of religious war, but also considered others as weaklings. That's the third strike. He's out. And here's Sridhar Swami. When Sugriva was going to offer his hospitality to Sri Ram and Lakshman, a Vanara by the name Dvivida, one of his ministers, gave wrong advice to Sugriva not to worry about paying any respect or importance to Lakshmana. Just focus on Ram. Instead of upacharam to Lakshmana, he committed offense. Therefore, Dvivida became the friend of hellish planets, meaning he was fit to enter hell to be punished. Bhagavata upacharam. So we're going to hear that term again. Rupa Goswami is going to use that term. Bhagavata apacharam, or offense to Bhagavan, or the devotee of Bhagavan. So not only Dvivida had a problem, but Sugriva had a problem because he listened to bad advice. For the same reason, Sugriva, who yielded to Dvivida's wrong advice, got heavily beaten by Vali in the first round of fight. Because he was only concerned about Ram, he did not care for the blessing of Lakshman, or Ram's devotee. He had to go through this. When he ran and came back to Ram, then Ram asked Lakshman to garland Sugriva so that Ram can differentiate between Vali and Sugriva. But the truth is, Ram wanted Lakshman to bless Sugriva, and for Sugriva to realize his mistake towards Lakshmana. Now, there's no explanation explicitly that I'm aware of in any of the versions of Ramayana that when Lakshman gave him this garland of vines, that he realized his offense. But that's what Sridhar Swami is saying. At least to receive the garland, he had to bow. And Lakshman gave him the garland. So that was sufficient. Of course, Lakshman did what he did because Ram instructed him to do what he did. But that's what gurus do. They do what the Supreme Lord instructs them to do. And the effect is there for one who receives that kindness from Guru, or representative of the personality of Godhead. And then he also mentioned this sinful act. He says it a little bit differently. When Dvivida was engaged in the service of Ram in battle with the Ravana's army, during the nighttime, Dvivida surreptitiously left Ram's troop and spent nights, plural, with the women of Lanka, or Rakshasis. Ram came to know of Dvivida's behavior and took him out from the service and sent him away. Then, in Dwapara Yuga, only after being killed by Balaram, he attained Swarga. attain Swarga. So the same verse, citing Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur from the BBT. This is an important verse. It's the introduction to Dvivida, because the chapter is Dvivida is going to get smashed by Balaram. Vishwanath Chakravarti compares the fall of Dvivida and Minda, servants of Sugriva and Lord Ram, during his earthly Leela, parentheses, both were Shakti-avesh forms of Minda and Dvivida who are Nityasiddhas, dwelling in the Lord's eternal abode, to that of Jai and Vijay. So they fell from Vaikuntha. At least Vishwanath makes the comparison. Now here's this Bhagavata Aparad. This is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in the section on Bhava Bhakti, the third wave, Bhava Bhakti. By two types of grave offenses, namely offense to the dearest devotee or to Krishna himself. So Krishna Preshta Aparadata. Krishna Preshta, that's one who is dear to Krishna. Krishna Preshta. Even real bhava is destroyed. So it preceding Dvivita's fall was offense. Change in bhava will take place according to a seriousness of the offense. And he goes on, bhava will be destroyed by aparad to the dearest devotees of Krishna. An example is Dvivita, the monkey, a follower of Ram. By aparad to Lakshman, his bhava disappeared. Poof. By medium aparad, bhava becomes bhavabhas. If the aparad is slight, the bhava changes type. Madhura rati becomes dasya rati. Dasya becomes shanta rati. Clear? Don't mess with Lakshman. Here's the little chart again. Offense to Vaishnav, not only Lakshman, but the devotee of the Lord. Because we're taught that sadhu means a devotee of the Lord. It's not just somebody wearing saffron, or somebody with a beard, or somebody that's gives the Bhagavatam class. It's a Vaishnav. Now, we need devotee association, and we need to not make offense to devotees. So be in good behavior, Prabhus, because there's consequences. It can make one susceptible to unfavorable association. Nartas can begin to arise, and then further offenses. So here's a nice painting where Lakshman is firing an arrow to kill Indrajit. Lakshman killed Indrajit. Indrajit was the son of Ravana. Ravana was born of a Brahmana father. And so, in one sense, Indrajit could be thought of as at least having descent from a Brahmana. So this is not a major Purana, but I came across this reference. Upa Purana, named Kalki Purana. So don't put too much weight on this, but here it is. After Lakshmana had killed Indrajit, he was affected by a fever, as he had killed the Brahmana, or Indrajit's grandfather was the Brahmana Vishravas. So Griva's minister, Dvivida, wrote a mantra and put it in front of Lakshmana. Immediately his fever was gone. And elated Lakshmana granted Dvivida a boon. The monkey said he would like to obtain a death at Lakshman's hand. which was granted. So Lakshmana didn't kill Dvidvida, but the final words spoken by Lord Ram to Hanuman just before he ended his Leela by entering into the river Sarayu with all his associates from Ayodhya, Ram asked Hanuman, as well as two other Vanaras, Minda and Dvidvida, to stay behind, as well as the king of the bears, Jambavan. So for that reason, Dvidvida didn't go back to he and Mindas to their original position, as many of the other associates of Lord Ramachandra did by this act of entering into the Sarayu. But he asked Hanuman to remain behind, Minda and Dvidvida to remain behind, and Jambavan. So Jambavan shows up in Krishna's Leela, right? And Dvidvida shows up in Krishna's Leela. And Hanuman is Hanuman. Hanuman is made his residence, it's described in the 5th canto, one part of Jambudvip from the Bhumandala region. There's a nice photograph of the river Sarayu. We visited this place. It's very nice. Very nice. Where Ram entered. And where he entered, there's a deity. Ram and Lakshman. And down below, and Sita. And over by the side is Hanuman. So now we're going to Dvidvida, who stayed behind, and now he has been corrupted by Narakasura's association. So when Narakasura was killed, that's in chapter 59, then Dvidvida had become inimical towards Krishna, because Krishna killed his buddy. And we wanted to take revenge, and the way to take revenge was to harass his kingdom, the kingdom of Dwarka, and the area surrounding Dwarka. Prabhupada named one of his female disciples by the name of that area that surrounds Dwarka. It's Anartha. But it's not, the spelling is a little different, so not a long A, but it's in the area where Dvidvida was trying to harass people. He ravaged their agricultural lands, setting fires to the cities, villages, and mines, and their cowherd dwellings. He tore up mountains and used the mountains to devastate all neighboring kingdoms. There's the word anartha, different spelling. Wherein dwelt his friend's killer, Lord Hari, friends Narakasura, killer Krishna. The neighboring kingdoms surrounding or nearby Dwarka. Another time he entered the ocean with strength of 10,000 elephants, churned up the water to make everything flooded. The powerful personality. Now he's using it in the wrong ways. Just as a wasp imprisons smaller insects, he arrogantly threw both men and women into caves in a mountain valley and sealed the caves shut with boulders. Powerful. Now with misusing his power. Vishnu Purana also speaks of Dvidvida. Taking a huge form, he looted and destroyed all the crops in the kingdom by going around and smashing them. It was a wild man. And all of this was because Krishna had killed his buddy, Narakasura. And having associated with him, he became corrupted and like him. The mischievous ape climbed a tree branch and then revealed his presence by shaking the trees and making a kila kila. I don't know how to do that. Anybody know how to make a gorilla sound? Now, it just so happened that Balaram was in that same area when Dvita was doing his thing. No, he had been there for some time. Balaram was visiting. Angered Lord Balaram, the best of fighters, hurled a rock at him, not his club because of the ape's previous bhakti, but the cunning ape dodged the rock and grabbed the Lord's Varuni beverage. Don't mess with Balaram. So, some battle, and with his fist, he broke his collarbone, and blood came gushing from his mouth. Thus ends Dvita. We're nearly done. So here's a little summary. You saw the same chart. Bana was bad, demoniac from birth, eldest son of Bali, bad. Bana gave his association to Naraka, who made him corrupted. And then Naraka gave his association to Dvita, so he became corrupted. And there's a little bit more. It's a detail, but details are nice. A little bit of genealogy. So, one of Brahma's direct sons was Marichi. Marichi was born, according to the Bhagavatam, from the mind of Brahma. And Marichi had a son. One of the sons was Kashyapa. And Kashyapa was given the 13 of the daughters of Prajapati Daksha to become married to. So he's a Brahmana. Kashyapa Muni is a Brahmana. His father is a Brahmana. His father is Lord Brahma. And it's described that he, Kashyapa, was present in the birth of Arjuna. So one of those 13 wives was Diti, and the combination gave birth to Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu and Kayodhu had 4 sons. One of the 4 sons was Prahlad. And here we have, now this is different. This is Hiranyakashipu was during the Chakshusha Manu. Ram was during the Vaivasvata Manu, the 24th Yuga cycle. So there's a big spread. Hiranyakashipu. One of the sons of Prahlad was Virochana. Virochana had a son who was Bali. Bali had 100 sons, of whom Bana was the eldest. So while Prahlad was pure and Bali was pure, Bana was not. And here's the explanation from Canto 8. In this Manvantar, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as the youngest of all the Adityas, known as Vamana the dwarf. His father was Kashyapa, and his mother Aditi. So one of their, how many sons did Kashyapa and Aditi have? How many? Was it 10 or 12? Huh? 12. You have a good memory. 12. So the youngest was Vamana, and one of the oldest was Indra. So Vamana is the younger brother of Indra. We're almost done. This is the last slide. 6th Canto, chapter 18. Prahlad had one son, Virochana, whose wife gave birth to Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj begot 100 sons in the womb of Ashana. Of these 100 sons, King Bana was the eldest. And in the 8th canto, chapter 10, there's a battle between the demigods and the demons, which was during Satya Yuga. The sun god fought with 100 sons of Bali Maharaj, headed by Bana. Got it? Vivaswan, the sun god, had a battle against the 100 sons of Bali Maharaj, because they're demons, headed by Bana. 5th canto. Even now, Aduna Api, Bali Maharaj engages in devotional service by worshipping the Supreme Personality Godhead in the planet of Sutala. It's one of the 7 lower planetary regions. Canto 8, chapter 13. This is just getting a genealogy of where Bali Maharaj and Bana fit into everything. Bali Maharaj is still living in Sutala with vast opulence. And he's going to be Indra in the next Manu. Whoa. Bali Maharaj, he's another Chiranjiva. He's going to last for the rest of this Manu duration. And then the following Manu, he's going to become Indra. Because every time there's a change of Manus, there's a change of the chief, the posts. The demigod positions are posts, and somebody is appointed. Manu appoints them. You're this, you're that, you're that. And this is the changing of the guards, like the president's new cabinet. Like, at least comparable to what America does, and probably other countries. You know, the chief elected officer brings in a whole new set of people to assist him to fulfill his agenda. So each Manu has a new set of demigods. So Bali's going to become the next Indra. He's going to be a really good Indra. Bali Maharaj is a pure devotee. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on a different verse: some like Bali have a long life, but do not have good conduct or auspiciousness. No, Bali lives a long life and has good conduct, but others live a long life, like Vidvita, and don't have good conduct. So apparently Vidvita, Bali, and Banasura are all Chiranjivas in that they live a long time. But a big problem came when Banasura corrupted Narakasura, who corrupted Dvidvita, who had to get bonked by Balaram. So the topic is Dvidvita's offense to Lakshmana. A great soul can become fallen by offending a Vaishnav. And what we heard is, from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur at least, is this particular Leela was purposeful because the Lord wanted to instruct what's the consequence of offending a great soul. Or Sadhu Ninda is the first of the 10 offenses. And we can, you can sit, we spent a little bit of time on this topic during my previous visit to Portland. The offenses against the chanting of the holy name. Maybe some of you remember. So one might think, well, he's a very advanced devotee, so he won't make much of it, and he'll be very forgiving, so no problem. That compounds the offense. Or one might think, oh, he's not such an advanced devotee, so it's not a big deal. we shouldn't think either end of the spectrum. It's just a principle. Sadhu means devotee of the Lord. Devotee of the Lord means sadhu. So we don't offend. Now, what constitutes offense? And what we're hearing is disrespect. And the initial disrespect was just in his mind. He didn't say, don't give any attention to, maybe he did say, don't give any attention to Lakshman, or in his mind, Lakshman is a weakling, he got hit by some serpent weapons, but, get up and fight. So, proud of his strength, thus causing a disrespect to Lakshmana. Instead of rendering service to Lakshmana when he got hit by a weapon and Hanuman was ready to bring the herbs. And Dravida was ready to find fault in him, in his mind. So it is how we respond to the circumstances of life. It has a lot of bearing on how well we progress. A teenager just wrote to me a letter today saying inattentiveness while chanting. And how serious is it? I mean, it says such and such. Does that mean because I go watch movies and something and stuff like that, that I'm making an offense? But making an offense against the holy name, and there's offense against having understood, despite having understood so many instructions in this matter, it's those people who are giving the instructions, they're not being respected. Because if they say it flip, but by respect, then I follow. Just like, just go over this direction, come back again. Namo Bravanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Chacha Gatitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Do you know the verse? Namo Bravanya Devaya. Do you know it? I'll say it slowly. Namo Bravanya Devaya. Namo Bravanya Devaya. Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. When we have yagyas, the very last mantra of all the mantras is everyone is supposed to stand, hold the banana, and say that mantra, and put the banana into the fire. It's a very important mantra. And the mantra says that one should respect Go and Brahmana, the cows and the Brahmanas. So both are such important entities, beings in Vedic culture. The Brahmanas for this reason, the cows for that reason. And Prabhupada was really strong, so it's back to being respectful or disrespect. There's an instruction, thou shalt not kill, and then there's killing. So there's a whole, and of all things to kill, a cow who's to be respected. And for this reason, that reason, the other reason, the other reason, the other reason. But even without all the reasons, it's a very important instruction. There is reason for the instruction, as there's reason for not disrespecting a Brahmana. And killing is far more than disrespecting. Whew. And that's the culture that we live in. Without going into it too much. It's when you think about it, it's all around us. And the propagators are persons who think of themselves as religious people, and they don't think anything about it. It's really it's hard to fathom And it's okay. It's just part of the culture. Phew. So, don't offend cows, don't offend brahmanas, and don't offend Lakshmana. You're going to have problems. Any discussion? It's 8:17. Yes. Do we have a portable microphone or no? Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. First of all, thank you so much for conducting these sessions. Lately, I've been developing an affinity for Lord Rama, some reason, and even during my chanting, actually, like maybe since the past 2 months or so, when we say Hare Rama, somehow my mind, which used to go to Lord Balaram, is going to Lord Rama. And I've heard before from you that that is okay.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having these lectures. Guru Maharaj, I was asking this question as a clarification to the topic of Bhrigu Muni. And
The topic of?
Bhrigu Muni, Sage Bhrigu.
Sage Bhrigu, okay.
And so, I mean, my family comes from South India, like the Andhra Pradesh area, and the Lord Balaji, Lord Venkateshwara, is very dear to like the southern states of India, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. So since I was born and raised in America, my family made sure that I knew about the culture of South India, and they would show me different literatures or movies depicting that. And yeah, the movies it's like, it can be really tricky. But part of that, one thing I've seen in those visual representations is the story of Bhrigu and how he's been sent by the sages to see who is the greatest of the three demigods. And he goes to Lord Brahma and he sees Lord Brahma, he's hearing like a musical concert. So he doesn't pay attention to Bhrigu Muni. So Bhrigu gets angry and says, Brahma is in the mode of passion, and he curses Lord Brahma that, you'll have no worshippers. Then he goes to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva is engaged in pastimes with his wife. And he curses Lord Shiva and says, you'll be worshipped only as a stone, you'll have no deity. And then he goes to Lord Vishnu, sees Vishnu completely immersed in being massaged by Lakshmi Devi, and he kicks Lord Vishnu on his chest. So, according to these South Indian literatures, after this incident happens, Lord Vishnu apologizes to Bhrigu Muni,
Yes.
which Brahma and Shiva didn't do. And Bhrigu Muni is still super angry because in the beginning he wasn't given that attention. And then Lord Vishnu starts massaging Bhrigu's legs.
Yes.
And according to the literatures that I was reading, there's pride that goes down after Lord Vishnu does that. And
Bhrigu becomes proud.
Bhrigu becomes humbled after that because he realizes that he's mentally offended. He offended Brahma, Shiva, and then he offended Lord Vishnu.
Okay.
And the main point, which I want to know if there's a Shastric reference for, is following that incident, the South Indian literatures or visual representations show that Lakshmi Devi was so almost insulted because Lord Vishnu's chest is the residing place of Lakshmi Devi.
Yes.
So she says, I can't tolerate this offense. I can't reside in your chest. So she leaves to planet Earth. And
She does what?
She leaves to planet Earth. She leaves Vaikuntadam and leaves to planet Earth. And Lord Vishnu follows her to planet Earth and thus takes the form of Lord Venkateshwara. So that's what I was reading in the South Indian literatures. And I haven't come across that story in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I was thinking, is there any Shastric reference to that? Because it couldn't be completely made up. And if there is, do you know if there is anything?
Well, I don't know. And my guess, this is a guess, there's scriptural reference for it. My guess is it's a Puranic story or two or three. And which Purana, which The detail I'm not familiar with. But I know three South Indian scholars I could ask. And, I need something more to do, so they'll do that. There's something more to do. And find out from those three what is the scriptural reference and how widely is that understood. Probably very widely understood. The question is not how widely is it understood. The question is, what's the scriptural reference for that? I'll see if I can find out. The first person, because he's very clear and precise, is Revati Raman in Tirupati. I mean, it's not the same, but likely he'll know, or he'll know who will know by some authoritative. So I'll just send me a little note that'll remind me to, carefully worded question. If you don't know, ask somebody who you have confidence in, will give a very clear, precise answer. And what's the reference from Scripture? Okay.
And I have a question, Guru Maharaj. Regarding Dvivida, and he was in the army of Lord Rama, and while serving during, the daytime in the army, in the nighttime he would go to engage in illicit activities. And I was thinking, while being engaged in service...
Why?
While being engaged in service, and service is supposed to be cleansing or purifying. And
right, because the answer is the prior was the offense when Sugriva and Ram were first meeting. And not respecting means disrespecting. Lakshmana. From that seed came the other stuff. He was already, some persons can be very, very powerful, like Hanuman, very powerful, but no pride. So he had pride, in addition to being very powerful. And it's pride goeth before the fall, as they say. So it's not don't become strong, but don't become proud. And when there is pride, there's a chance, and therefore a tendency to misuse whatever the endowment that Krishna has given one, strength or anything.
Does the service that Dvivida was performing not clear the anartha or the offense that he committed towards Lakshmana?
Well, it can, but it can also work the other way. It can amplify, if pride is there, and the one isn't vigilant about pride, it can amplify pride. So in other words, and it's not that just by keep chanting and everything's going to be nice. We keep chanting, but it's not mechanical. There has to be something else operating on a subtle level or a heart level of wanting to please Krishna. So obviously, if he's going to go off and do what he did during the fight, during the battle, it's not for the pleasure of Ram. And Ram booted him. Something else?
Thank you.
You have a good memory. I'm impressed. That's it. You have something?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So the avarnas or the covered deities we heard about today, they are supposed to be viewed as to the same level as they are cover deities of? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like the Chaturvyuha they're not equal to the source of them, but they're respected and worshipped on the same level.
But seeing some of them perform some offenses, etc., it's difficult to view them as the same. Like,
Say the end of the sentence, your voice got soft.
so yes, they are supposed to be respected at the same level. I get
Yes.
that. But for example, Dveda did this offense.
But that's a jiva, it's not the Nitya Siddha personality. An angsa of him was invested in another jiva, bearing the same name.
Okay, thank you. Second question, the reaction of a mental offense was stronger just because it was a different yuga? Means the offense towards Lakshman was not spoken. That's the only reason?
If you don't speak something, it doesn't have instant karma. But if you don't speak something, but you're thinking that something, what follows?
Action.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's inside comes out
Thank you.
sooner or later. So we have to be careful about our thoughts, not just our actions, both.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for that nice lecture. Maharaj, I was thinking like pride in the form of thinking oneself as like servant of the servant. Prabhupada said this is the pride in the spiritual world. So is that also pride in material world if we think, oh, we are the servant of the servant? So should we consider that as pride? And can that be offensive at some stage?
Of course. I mean, it can be pure, it can be offensive. I'm the greatest. I'm the most humble. Delusion, self-delusion. But there's also the spiritual. We had this discussion in Atlanta. Is there such a thing as spiritual arrogance? Definitely. Definitely. It can't be here if it's not there. So what's it look like there? I gave the example of Lalita, with her hands on her hips, saying, "Get out of here." Or, "Our pearls are too good for your cows." No. But it's not, it's for the pleasure of Radha, which is the pleasure of Krishna. So, but it's not of the dirty kind, it's the pure kind. So is it possible to be excessively humble, and have it be a contamination? One then may become proud and just see how humble I've become. And compared to the other people, they're not so humble like me. I mean, it can be polluted or contaminated, but it can be the other way.
Maharaj, how can we
So
purify
resting on consciousness, and consciousness is the Krishna consciousness is the aspiration to please Krishna. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. In that phrase, it's all there. That's bhakti. So now go ahead, you're going to say.
I got that now.
That's it?
Yeah, the last part.
Okay.
It should be pleasing to Krishna. So that means instead of thinking oneself, who am I, maybe we can think of pleasing to Krishna.
I'm trying to help a nice devotee get this understanding, and they don't get it. No, they choose to not get it. That's why they don't get it. It's subtle, but at the same time, it's very strong. She wants to say something.
How can we rectify the Vaishnava
How?
aparadh?
Speak slowly, please.
Yeah. How can we rectify the Vaishnava aparadh?
How can we recognize?
Rectify, like how can we did some Vaishnava aparadh, and how can we nullify its reaction?
How can you nullify once you've made an aparadh? That's your question.
Yeah, we know that somehow by knowingly or unknowingly we made some Vaishnava aparadh, and
Okay.
so how can we now? What
Once
can we
it's
do?
done, how do you undo it? How do you take away the reaction or the consequence of the offense? That's what you're asking?
Yeah.
Well, you're such a scriptural lady. How can you not know the answer? Is there a stage of bhakti called the Nartandavritti?
Yes.
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 And how does a Nartandavritti work? It's by the continuous, with faith application of the principle of bhajana kriya. Bhajana kriya, or bhakti in practice, with the right intention, that's important, has the power to remove anarthas, or the consequences of offense. We discussed this last time I was here, and there are aparadhs from different sources. There's seva aparadh, so the most serious, grievous is nama aparadh, and then nama aparadh has 10 in number. We discussed them. So supposing you do those, like this teenager that sent me a letter saying, watching movies and other distractions. It's not like they watch movies while they're chanting. That's way out there. But just maintaining attachment to worldly things. That's one. It's number 10. 10th offense. So it's an offense. So and offense. Of offense, anarthas arise, correct? And then, so the anartha is, my attachment for these things is growing because I'm making offense. The solution isn't stop chanting, so I'm not going to build up any more reactions to chanting while maintaining attachments. I just maintain attachments. Not that anarthas will go away by that behavior. It's recognizing and then moving to the position of, what's the phrase? Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam. You know the verse. I'm sure you know the verse. The first half is don't do this. The second half is do this. Don't seek purity through karma and gyan. Seek purity, purification, through anukulyena Krishnanushilanam. That's the bhakti muscle. And you just keep exercising your bhakti muscle. Supposing you're weak. Keep exercising your bhakti muscle. That's spiritual. As there's physical therapy, there's spiritual therapy. And then we can say specifically, chanting of the holy name. Well, supposing I don't have a taste for the holy name because I've made so many offenses. That's what this young lady was asking. I struggle. My sadhana has become weak. I feel as a better devotee, sometime in the past, and now because of my allowing these attachments to continue, the 10th offense, despite my understanding so many instructions, I'm continuing with those attachments. So my sadhana is becoming weak. So no. Nectar of Instruction, text number 7. Read that one. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Anyone else? We're done.
Hare Krishna
Oh,
Maharaj.
you have one. Okay.
Yeah, there is a comment from online.
Oh,
Question from Radha Kund Mataji. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. We have heard about Dvivida's offenses and the reactions. How about Mainda? Did he remain as a devotee since he did not do any offense?
well, he was. Yeah, we read that, he had bad association because Vali was inimical to his brother, and his brother was a very dear devotee. I mean, there's passages in Ramayana where Ram says about Hanuman, about the Sugriva, that he's more dear to me than myself. So he was inimical to Sugriva. We don't hear much more about him. It's certainly not like what happened with Dvidita, but he was a devotee, but he also became corrupted by bad association. We don't hear what happened after that. So I don't have an answer to what happened after that because there's nothing written that I'm aware of. I searched a little bit. I couldn't find anything. Couldn't find anybody that knew anything either.
Sure,
Yes, in the back.
Sure, Maharaj. There is a part 2 of that question as well. What was his role in Krishna Leela in Dwapara Yuga as he was also a Chiranjeevi?
I don't know. The same answer. Same question, same answer.
You mentioned there are some demoniac people who are Chiranjeevis. Ashwatthama is one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Are there other?
But you know what happens to Ashwatthama? He was banned, and he's going to have some role in the next Manu. My understanding is he's the next Vyas. I mean, I don't remember where I heard that or read it, but that's rattling around in my mind at the moment. So he became purified, repentant and purified. So it's possible. It's possible. He chanted a lot of japa.
Maharaj, are there any other examples of demoniac Chiranjeevis that come to your mind?
Not at the moment. It's just that I made reference because it's part of what our acharyas present in their commentaries. My brain works very slowly, so I'd have to think about it. I can't think of anything at the moment.
Right, just another question on follow-up to Rishika Mataji's question. So what exactly was your question about the scriptural reference for which part of that pastime?
That ending part where they say that following the story of Prabhupada, where he goes to Lord Vishnu, is it true or probably true, but the reference for Lakshmi Devi?
Left. The chest of Narayan. So he followed and became...
Lord Venkateshwara following Lakshmi Devi.
I mean, it sounds very strange. That Narayan that Lakshmi leaves Narayan's side because she's pouting? That's not... Although Leela is certainly possible, but it's like, really? You have something, Mataji? You have the microphone. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Mahaprasadam. Don't go away yet.